Greetings, Jelly Spoons, welcome to another Monday Madness. Starting the week right with some chaos. You may have noticed I look a little different today. Fabulous, isn't it? I love this wig so damn much. Today I am doing sponsored content. One of my magnificent followers has got in contact with me and asked if they can sponsor me for an episode to basically talk about what they want me to talk about and wear the costume that they wanted me to wear. My everyday aesthetic. This video has come about and is all because of B. I will put your handle down there. There you are, you're in the video now. Aha. Thank you so incredibly much, B. It is people like you who continue to make my life insanely amazing and I get paid to chat. Let's do it. Simp for me, you know you want to. So what I decided to do to make things a bit easier for myself and for you guys listening is I'm going to do 4 sections to this video. The first section is my top 10 favourite musicals. That took a long time to narrow down. I'm then going to do my top 10 musical numbers, but not from my favourite musicals, because sometimes there is just one particular song that I absolutely adore, and while I love the show, I wouldn't put it in my favourites list, but I still want to recommend them to all of you guys, so I will put as many links as I can in all the doodly-doos, so you can find all of these links and watch all of these shows as totally legally as possible. The third section I'm going to do is a very quick sort of honourable mentions. I'm going to mention a bunch of musicals that didn't quite make it to my top 10, but I still really recommend anyway, on some really quick details about why I love these shows so much and why I think that you'd enjoy them as well. And the fourth section is going to be something even more personal. Like, yeah, my favourite musical is quite personal, but I'm actually going to talk quite a bit about gender identity and me finding out what I think I am. More on that later though. Before we do get into this video though, just for the sake of my own insanity, I don't care too much about pronouns. I do consider myself gender fluid, but predominantly they, he would be great. If you would like to sponsor one of my videos or suggest something you would like me to do, then you can chuck them in the comments below. But if you would like me to get to it rather quickly, if you would like me to do it with post-haste and all the enthusiasm in the entire world, which is mostly mine, then you too can become a supporter of Maucus Noise the Chaos. You can join the Jelly Spoons Chaos Legion. That's a thing now, and I desperately want it on a t-shirt. You can join us. We are on Ko-fi and Patreon. I will put the links in the doodly-doo, but basically patreon.com/maucusnoise, ko-fi.com/maucusnoise. As always, no pressure to do this. If you would like to, then Patreon starts from $3 a month if you have that much and you would like to support me in my craziness and help me to buy my fabrics and pick my cosplays. That would be awesome. Thank you everyone who is currently doing so. I love every single person who has ever donated to me on Ko-fi, every single one of my monthly Patreons. I love you, I see you, thank you so much. Let's get into the video. What's tell me what's happening, should not have watched that before I shot this. This video's gonna just be lots of Jesus Christ superstar. Section 1, my personal favourite musicals of all time. I would like to preface this by saying that this is my personal favourite musicals of all time. I am not saying these should be your favourite musicals of all time. Instead, treat it as a, hey, I really recommend these musicals. They are so important to me that I put them in a list and I'm recommending that you go watch them. If they are available on the YouTube, I will link them in the doobly-doo. If not, I will be linking all of the soundtracks because most of those are available on YouTube to go listen to. Check all the links in the doobly-doo if any of the things I have said have caught your attention, and hopefully most of them will. Number 10, Repo the Genetic Opera. Now, this is a weird one. I have actually cosplayed from this very recently. There's a character in this called Grave Robber. He's my favourite character and he was in fact my March cosplay, so I have just finished doing that. Insert picture here. Bing! That's me. And I cool. He's not on the box! He's not in the box! That is just rude. He's like the best character. If you enjoyed Sweeney Todd or Rocky Horror, you will probably like Repo as well. The story in brief would be summed up as a weave of lies, multitudes of different relationships with complicated people, poverty, and addiction. Oh my god, Repo sounds like the better version of Rent. If you want a really hot take on Rent, go watch Lindsay Ellis's video about it. It really made me rethink that show. I still kind of enjoy some of the songs, but yeah, I cannot look at the show in the same way again after watching that. If you enjoy goth, sexy, drama, kind of experimental theatre, you'll probably like Repo. I really do say give it a go. I will link a few of the songs from it in the description of this video. Go give them a watch. One of my favourites is called Zydrate Anatomy. Don't read too much into it, just go with it. Number 9 of my favourite musicals of all time, Legally Blonde the Musical. And it should show you how much I love this because I don't actually have the CD on me, it is in my car. That is how often I listen to this. This musical is a big part of why I started to respect female roles in musicals. More on that later. It's not just dumb. You're not just watching someone dressed as L Words singing songs and acting out the movie. No, you believe every second. They hit the emotional beats. You feel for her. When she is dumped, you feel it. The music, you feel it, you feel so sad for her. And then when she has her turning point in the middle of the show, she sees her name on the list and she bursts into so much better. You feel so happy for her, you want to cry. She rings her mom. It's brilliant. It's absolutely insane. And there's also a wonderful song called Ireland, which gets a beautiful reprise as well. And just, oh, this whole show, it is unexpectedly emotional and it hits you in just the perfect way. So Legally Blonde the musical, my absolute number 9. Number 8, The Phantom of the Opera. The first time I ever saw or heard Phantom of the Opera, it was the 2004 Gerald Butler version. You know what? I'm not sorry because I enjoyed it. People have ripped apart this movie a lot. And I'm not gonna get into that because it's completely irrelevant, but it really wasn't that bad. I maintain this version of Phantom of the Opera was better than the version of Les Mis they brought out, where every shot was this close and all the actors were singing live and that was supposed to somehow be special. It's like, the West End and Broadway actors sing live every frickin' night. That's not special. I have a lot to say about the Les Mis movie and none of it's really good. Hey, doggy. The dog has come in. The thing about Phantom of the Opera is that once again, it hits all the right emotional beats and it was clearly written with so much love and care. And I think that's a reason why people keep coming back to it. There's huge, big crescendoing moments. You get to see the heartbreak of the Phantom, the confusion of Christine, Raoul being desperate to try and help her and save her. And if you have never seen the candles come rising out of the stage and the boat the Phantom is pulling come pushing through all the smoke that's on the stage and the chandelier come crashing down, and if you're in any country other than the UK, it can come down quite fast as opposed to ridiculously slowly. So technically, story-wise, musically, altogether, really good show, absolutely phenomenal. There's not a lot more I can say about Phantom. It is popular, it will continue to be popular, and that's for a reason. It's just damn impressive. If you're gonna watch Phantom, I highly recommend the 25th anniversary edition. It's got Ramin and Sierra in it. They are my absolute favorites as the Phantom and Christine, so highly recommend this one. Go buy the DVD, it's super insanely spectacularly brilliant, breathtaking. You won't regret watching this. Number 7. Like Phantom, my number 7 choice is also probably a little bit of a cliche in that it is ridiculously popular. Loads of people will put it in their top 10 lists, probably the top 5s as well. So by some people's standards, it would probably be considered a basic choice. I, however, don't care. I will argue that just like Phantom, this musical is popular because it's good. Sometimes things get popular because they're really good. So without further ado, my number 7 choice is Wicked. Wicked is insanely important to me because I first went to see it live with my sister. We watched Carrie Ellis as Elphaba and we both fell in love with the show. For Good, the finale song, will forever make me tear up and emotional just because it makes me think of my baby sister, who I love to the ends of the earth, and yeah. There you go. It's the emotional gut punch. It got me. What I think Wicked does so perfectly is the dynamics and the relationships between all the key characters. Elphaba and one of her teachers, Elphaba and Galinda, Galinda and Fiera, Fiera and Elphaba, all of those characters you absolutely root for in very different ways. Even Elphaba's sister, who ends up doing some really bad things, you still root for them all, and it makes it so hard. It's one of those shows where you can't decide who's in the right. There's no right and no wrong person, which makes it incredibly hard watching sometimes because you're in this sort of morally grey area, and any story that can leave you with this moral greyness but also absolute love and adoration for every single character has definitely done something amazing. Also going to mention that a very underrated song from Wicked is No Good Deed. I watched Carrie Ellis do that. It blew my mind. Number 6 of my favourite musicals of all time. This is another musical I have been lucky enough to see live pretty early on in its run as well, and it is Matilda. Not only were the music and lyrics done by Tim Minchin, who is one of my all-time favourite singer-songwriters, and will make an appearance later on this list as Judas in Jesus Christ Superstar, Matilda the musical manages to three-dimensionalise some of the characters who in the movie were more caricatures, particularly Matilda's family. One particular character from Matilda the movie who I always thought was never given quite enough to her was Miss Honey, the teacher. In the musical, she is given so much more. She's not just the pretty nice lady who is lovely to the kids and has quite a sad story behind her of her dad dying. Spoilers. She has some sass. She has some flair to her when it comes out. She has these amazing inner monologue songs where one of them, which is just brilliant, is where she is outside the door of Miss Trunchbull's office and she's just singing, "Knock on the door, Jenny, just knock on the door." And then she's talking herself out of it every time, like, no, she's probably busy, she's in a meeting, I should come back later. No, this is important, this is for the child needs me. Okay, I'm gonna do this, right? Knock on the door. Why aren't you knocking on the door, Jenny? Just knock on the door. I don't think I will knock on the door, maybe I'll just not. No, Matilda needs you. And it's tragically hilarious that just seeing that much more to her character is totally worth the price of the ticket alone. Staging wise as well, it's absolutely beautiful. You've got alphabet tiles everywhere, you've got school desks, you've got swings that the kids go on. They have the school song, which is my personal favorite song, the school song, and they sneak in the alphabet to the lyrics. And as they do the alphabet, the older kids are climbing up these barriers and they're putting the letters in like letter blocks. So there's like A, B, C, and as you're looking all over the stage, you see these blocks appear with the letters on it and you realize, they're teaching me the alphabet and I didn't even realize. So I think it's like, so you think you're able to survive this mess by being a prince or a princess, you will soon see there's no escaping tragedy. Number 5, Finding Neverland. If you've never heard of this musical, I 100% forgive you. It's absolutely fine. It has an annoyingly small presence out there on the internet and just in the world in general. But I'm super glad that I stumbled across it online because it has very quickly become one of my absolute favorites. Finding Neverland has 3 very particular gut punch moments for me. And again, gut punches of not necessarily sad emotion, although most of them are. The first comes right at the beginning when Jay and Barry is singing If the World Turned Upside Down. And he is thinking about there being a moment in your life when you realize this is what you're supposed to be doing. Your whole world has been turned upside down and you have realized this is it. This is the path I want to be on. And suddenly everything sort of makes sense. Second emotional gut punch for me comes at the very end of Act 1 with a song called Stronger. They turn the entire stage into a pirate ship. They put up this rigging and stuff. There's like flags. Jay and Barry's standing on top of this park bench with a sword out. Fantastic. The song itself is really upbeat as well. He has just been trodden down by pretty much everybody. They're doubting his work, they're doubting him, completely caved in on himself, and he has no idea what to do and he's considering just giving up. And then Captain Hook comes to him. He gets the idea for Captain Hook the villain, who will essentially save the story that he's writing. He needs a good villain. Children like to be scared. They just don't know it yet, says Captain Hook. And through a discussion with Captain Hook, Jay and Barry realizes what he wants to be doing and he gets that spark back. And he takes the sword and he looks a bit piratey and he's like, yes, this is what I'm going to be doing. I am now stronger. I'm going to reach higher. I'm going to dig deeper. I'm going to find the fire and be better than before. And I love a song like that. I love a good rousing number that just makes you go, yes! The last emotional gut punch is less of a song and more of a specific moment. And they stage it slightly differently in different versions, but the first version I saw, spoiler alert, if you don't want to know the end of Finding Neverland, please skip this bit and come back when I wave. Okay, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. So towards the end of the story, Sylvia Llewellyn-Davies does die. She succumbs to her illness and she dies, leaving her boys in the care of Jay and Barry and her mother. And it's a beautifully haunting, melancholy way they show it. She's been too sick to attend the opening of Peter Pan the play, even though she really wants to go, and so Barry, after the show, brings all the actors into their house and they perform it in front of her, and then they sing a reprise of a song called Neverland. And they're singing about how there's this place and I can take you there and you'll never grow old and it's beautiful. And at the end of the song, Sylvia stands there and the stage gets cleared and it's dark and there's a window behind her and the curtains are flapping. She's been singing about going to Neverland and the lights come down and all you see is this huge windswept pile of glitter just sweep her up and coil around, and she goes out of the window and she's gone. And that, it's getting me just thinking about it. Oh, fuck me. Right. Anyone who wanted to skip the spoilers, Finding Neverland is emotional gut punches left, right, and center, but I wholeheartedly recommend it. Number 4 on my tip-top musicals of all time. All right, just hear me out. Shrek the musical. You said you'd hear me out. I went into Shrek the musical expecting a fun romp of a good time, and I got it. But once again, those emotional gut punches, it would not be on my list if it didn't have it, and by God does it deliver. They have 2 in particular songs which are absolutely heartbreaking. Actually, they have 3. The first one is Who I'd Be, and I'll link it in the doobly-doo. It's when Shrek and Donkey have rescued Fiona and she's gone to sleep in the cave and Shrek and Donkey are sat on the boulder at night, and the part in the movie that it's from is where they're looking up at the stars. But then Donkey says to Shrek, you know, if you could be anyone else, who would you be? And Shrek initially doesn't answer and it's a stupid game and whatever. But then eventually he thinks about it and he says, I guess I'd be a hero. And he goes into this song about how if he could be anybody else, he'd be a hero with sword and armor clashing, and he'd look dashing, and he might get the girl, and people would like him. He'd take his helmet off, and people would love him. And then he sings, no, maybe I would be a poet, and then I could write a different story to the one that I'm stuck in. Or maybe I'd be a Viking, and I would live a life of daring and adventure, and I would go off and see the world and sail. No, I think I'd be a hero. Of course I would be a hero, and I would scale the tower, and I would save the princess, and I would get the happy ending. And then at the end of the song, he sings about how that's not for me. I'm an ogre. Ogres don't get the happy ending. We laugh at Shrek in the movie. We think that it's funny that people are scared of this ogre, but in the musical, you get it. It's not nice to be treated like that. And they show you over and over again. They show you with the fairy tale creatures. They show you with Shrek, with Donkey, with Fiona even. They show you. And you get it. You really get it. There's another moment with Shrek later on when he comes back with the sunflower. And the song is called When Words Fail. And he starts by trying to plan what he's going to say to Fiona. Hello, fair princess. I picked this flower over there. That's where it grew, and I thought you might like it. It made me think of you because it's pretty. And it has some funny lines too, where he's saying, and I think you're pretty too, but don't worry, I like you anyway. He's singing, if words fail, what will I do? If words fail, how can I make her understand? How will she know how I feel? And then towards the very end of the song, he just takes a breath and he goes, if words fail, she'll know what I mean. If words fail, she'll understand. And she'll take my hand and she sees me like nobody else has ever seen me before. She'll get it. And then, of course, we have the misunderstanding where he overhears her and Donkey talking and thinks that she doesn't like him at all. Story of my life. Always down to fail. Cheated by your fox. Swallowed by your whale. That's the story of my life. Oh yeah, that's the story of my life. Just a bit of Pinocchio for you there. Almost immediately after we've had the What If Words Fail song, and Shrek and Fiona have had the misunderstanding and they both think they dislike each other, and Fiona goes off to marry Lord Farquaad, and Shrek is left and he has his swamp back, and he sings a song called Build a Wall. And it's about how he gives up on the world and he's going to be the monster that they expect. I'm going to be what they say. I'm going to be what they want. You're looking for a monster. Well, it's your lucky day because I'm going to be that monster. I'm going to build a wall. It's going to be 10 foot high and I will never see anybody again. And then Donkey comes in and explains things and we get the happy ending and it's all good. I totally recommend Shrek the Musical. Get ready to cry loads. And also Fiona does a tap dance with mice. It's amazing. Number 3. All right, this one is a big one. I've used the word powerful a lot so far in this video, but I'm going to use it again full force for Miss Saigon. This show is everything they're singing about in Moulin Rouge when they're going spectacular, spectacular. This is that show. It is on the same level as Les Mis in terms of the tragic and hopeful and destitute story that they are telling, but for me it is way bigger. It is more powerful, more emotional, it has more hits than Les Mis does, and I do love Les Mis. It's coming in the honourable mentions later, but Miss Saigon for me hits harder and better. My favourite character of the whole show is called the Engineer, and this guy has some of my favourite songs, particularly one called The American Dream. It's right near the end of the show, and it is both comedy gold and heartbreakingly gutting. He's singing about wanting the American dream, something he's been going after for a long time, and he is so close to getting it that he can taste it, and he's imagining what it'll be like. They bring this car on the stage, there's girls dancing in feathers, and he gets put in these really fancy clothes and he's singing about this, and you know that this is not what he is gonna get. The lights come down and it's all dark, and the dancers have disappeared, and there's sometimes flecks of feathers from the costume still floating around him. And he stood there in his normal clothes once again, and he's back where he was, and it's all just this fantasy, and the song ends. I will talk about this more with my number 2 pick, and a little bit with my number 1 actually, but I don't need a happy ending. As long as it makes sense for the story, and as long as it hits me emotionally in all the right beats, I'm fine. And spoiler alert, Miss Saigon does arguably not have a happy ending for most of its characters. Spoilers over! Spoilers over for Miss Saigon. If you haven't seen Miss Saigon but you enjoyed Les Mis, very similar feel. Highly recommend. Watch Miss Saigon. Number 2! I think most of you will probably have known this one was coming, given my aesthetic. So, number 2, Jesus Christ Superstar. This decision also kind of needs a disclaimer. Jesus Christ Superstar as a musical is not in my top 10. Jesus Christ Superstar as performed by Ben Forster and Tim Minchin and by the 2014 Swedish cast, that is in my top 10. And if those two versions did not exist, or I had never seen them, Jesus Christ Superstar would not have made the top 20. Musically, it's fine, but I only really love a handful of the songs. Gethsemane is one of my favorite musical numbers of all time, and pretty much every song that Judas sings in the entire thing. But other than that, the rest of them, pretty hit and miss for me. So why are these two versions my number 2 for favorite musical of all time? I'm gonna link you to some clips of them down below in the doodly-doo, and hopefully you will understand why. I will talk about this one first, the Ben Forster as Jesus and Tim Minchin as Judas. Tim Minchin is an amazing singer-songwriter performer. As Judas, he kills it. I absolutely believe him, and that's what I need. I need the emotional gut punches, and I need to believe you. You can't just be a good singer to be in a musical, you need to be a great actor and performer as well, and that is what Tim Minchin does in his role as Judas in this version of the show. Ben Forster won his role as Jesus in this. He went through a British TV show, they were searching for Jesus Christ, I think it was called Superstar. There were plenty of other people who were amazing singers, and there was the final 3. I'll try and put a link to this down below, or a link up here. The final 3, just go watch this. Look at their faces. They're all amazing singers, but Ben, I believe him more. And I absolutely love him as Jesus. And going beyond loving it is the 2014 Swedish cast. Again, I will link things all over the place. I wish that this soundtrack was available to buy, but I cannot find it anywhere. If anyone can find it for me, then please tell me so that I can buy it. It is in Swedish, but it doesn't matter. There are lyric translations and stuff. The guy who played Jesus in it, Salo, I am so sorry if I butchered that name, he did all of the translating. He translated the lyrics from English into Swedish, so they have been tailored so they fit the song better. It's beautifully done, and he did all this work, and he plays Jesus absolutely spectacularly. The Judas in it looks pretty much like this. This is my Judas cosplay based on Peter Johansson, and I'm sorry if I butchered that name as well, and he is my favorite Judas. The emotions are so raw, and there is a ridiculous amount of gay love triangleness between Judas, Jesus, and Mary. And I am here for it. One of the really interesting things about Jesus Christ Superstar and the way it is told is that it is all from essentially Judas's point of view. Jesus is the subject. Jesus is who the musical is about, but Judas is the storyteller. You feel absolutely heartbroken for him when you see him betray Jesus, when he takes the money, and in the Swedish version, because it's modern, he's given notes. The notes just get showered over his head. And all these notes and all the money, the blood money just rains down on him, and he just like screams and runs away. And it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And again, gut punch. Gethsemane is the most emotional song I have ever heard. Ola and Ben are the two who really made me feel it. You don't even have to be religious to get it. Gethsemane is, at the end of the day, is a broken man who has been trying his best and nothing has worked. And he is tired, and he is beaten down, and he knows what is next. He knows that he is supposed to die, and he's asking why. And eventually he gets angry, so angry. He has that amazing, powerful, beautiful note where he sings, why should I die? And then it turns into defiance, and he says, all right, I'll die. You want to take your only son. All right, I will drink your cup of poison. You can nail me to the cross. You can break me, but you watch, and you will watch me die. Just watch. But he's still so sad because he's going to die, and it's going to hurt, but still he does it. But there is something else that is equally important about Jesus Christ Superstar for me, and that is the ending. You could probably argue most musicals actually end on usually a rousing, punchy number. Jesus Christ Superstar does not. The last big woo happy song is Judas, and Jesus has just been put up on the cross. The idea that a lot of the shows put forward is that it's Jesus sort of hallucinating about Judas, and he's singing, well, basically I told you so. How is it getting exactly the comeuppance that I said was going to happen? And then you're a superstar, Jesus, and he's living his best life with the tambourine, and it's an upbeat song, and it's huge, and it's great, and it's Jesus Christ Superstar, are you what they say you are? And then the stage clears again. And like the moment I talked about with the engineer in Miss Saigon, and like the moment I spoke about in Finding Neverland with Sylvia, There's just this dark stage, and there's just Jesus, just this one person, beam of light, and he's there, he's got the thorns on, and he's bleeding. And in the Ben Forster version, he is really bleeding. He is covered in blood, and it's just all down his front, and it's so quiet. And he's up on the cross, and he starts to cry, and he calls for his mother. You do not have to be religious to be absolutely moved by the finale of Jesus Christ Superstar. It doesn't end with a bang, like a lot of musicals will, with a big punchy number. It literally ends with a whimper. Because Jesus is up there, and he said, Father, forgive them, they don't know what they do. And he's called for his mother. And then eventually he's just gasping for breath, and he says, Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. And then the actor drops his head down, and he breathes out a last breath, and then the music just drops, and he's dead. And he's hanging there on a cross. And in the Ben Forster version, they sort of drop rose petals, and they all fall around the stage in this beam of light. And it's just quiet. For some people, it's probably awkward and painful to sit there in this silence, like, oh God, this is uncomfortable. And that's the point. That's the point. At the end of Jesus Christ Superstar, it's not meant to be a happy story. In the 2012 and the Swedish version, they did it so immaculately. They showed me and re-demonstrated why it is so important that you don't need to end with a happy ending. You just need to end with a powerful one. Number 1 in my favourite musicals of all tippy-toppy time. Anyone who knows me will probably not be surprised by my favourite choice of musical. However, they probably won't even know that it is a musical, particularly not the version I am talking about. So, my number 1 musical is Peter Pan, the musical. But I'm not talking about the 1954 sort of OG musical that most people know. It had Mary Martin, and I do have the Kathy Rigby version in it. This is my favourite version of that musical with Kathy Rigby. And this essentially is joint for first place because I love Kathy Rigby. So Peter Pan, the musical, is sort of my number 1. The book will always be my favourite book in the whole world. It'll be my favourite story in the whole world. Peter Pan is my favourite character in all of media and all of fiction. Peter Pan is my favourite. So it might seem obvious that the musical would also be my favourite, but I am very picky about my adaptations. I really did not enjoy Hook, for example. That's a whole nother video. My favourite version of Peter Pan the musical is a little known production called Peter Pan, a Musical Adventure. I was bought this sort of by accident by somebody for a birthday when I was about 17. They intended to buy me the Kathy Rigby one, the Peter Pan musical. I had heard there was a Peter Pan the musical and I wanted to listen to it, so I just said, oh, for my birthday can I have a copy of Peter Pan the musical on CD? And they did not know which one to buy me, so they bought me 3. There were 3 different versions that they found. They found the original one from 1954, they found this one, and they found another one called Peter Pan the British musical. That one is probably also joint for first place, but it's more of the I love some particular songs from it as opposed to the whole thing. This version, A Musical Adventure, is my favourite because it does the character of Peter Pan right. It does him how the books do him. One of my favourite songs from the entire show is called The Cleverness of Me, and number 1, it involves crowing within the song. And anyone who can do the crow properly is always a-okay in my book. Yes, I have, and I regularly do practice my Peter Pan crow. No, I will not do it on YouTube, at least not while I'm not dressed as Peter Pan. Peter is saying that on the island, seasons are different in all different places, and Wendy is saying, well, how do you know what to wear? How can you dress properly? And Peter is saying, well, I am too clever to get caught by a cold. I don't need to wear a scarf. And Wendy is exasperating over him, and Peter is just being clever and cocky and amazing, and I love him and I relate. The great song between Peter and Wendy is called One Big Adventure, and Wendy is saying to Peter, and she's trying to explain, look, I want to grow up, why can't you treat it as one big adventure? And this is where we come to one of my favourite lines from the whole show. Wendy is saying to Peter, look, pirates, Indian braves and fairies, and Peter comes back and says, well, fun comes in different guises. And Wendy is saying, won't the novelty wear a bit thin? And Peter's saying, no, every day brings surprises. And Wendy says, you'll soon get bored because nothing's going to change. You'll soon get bored if nothing varies. And Peter says, not while the sun still rises. I've talked about the finale in all of my top 3 musicals, actually, Jesus Christ Superstar and Miss Saigon. Well, Peter Pan does have a happy one, you'd be delighted to know. And the musical adventure ends, once again, with a dark stage with not many other people on it and a single spot of light for the main character, Peter Pan. And he is asking, why can't we stay as little children? Why must we put away the toys? And he says, why should I give up flying? Why should I want to be a man? Why should I give up all the delights that I've got now? And then, just like Jesus in Gethsemane, he comes to that moment where he gets defiant And just as Jesus had the turnaround, but his was accepting his fate, Peter's is not accepting the fate that everyone else would put upon him. That might be fine for all these other children, but it's not for me. I am Peter Pan. And he starts to fly up into the air, and there's smoke around, and there's glittering stars, and he's singing, as long as there are stars to guide me, as long as the sun still shines a light gold, away in the Neverland you will find me, and I won't be growing old. And then he sings the title of the song, which is There's Always Tomorrow. And he harkens all the way back to that song he'd sung with Wendy, Not While the Sun Still Rises. And now in the finale number, he's flying and he is singing, as each new dawn rises, there's always tomorrow. And he holds that note, tomorrow, and he flies off into the sky, and that's it, and that's the end of the musical. Compare that to the ending of the Kathy Rigby one. Thematically, it's still the same. He still flies off into the sky, and the same story beats have happened. He has left Wendy, he has met her daughter Jane, he is getting mothers and taking them to the Neverland, but I'm not as emotionally there as I am in Peter Pan the Musical Adventure. And so, although all three of the Peter Pan musicals I absolutely love, and they are sort of joint for first place, that is why Peter Pan A Musical Adventure is my absolute number one. Hey Jelly Spoons, Future Morku here. So this video ran long. There is going to be a part 2 coming pretty much right now. So see you there.